Hello everybody, welcome to UK Gaming Network. I'm Brian, also known as UKGN Zoidberg, and this is Best 10, where I offer up my choices for games in a selected theme. And this month, that selected theme is A1200 enhanced releases. Mid-generation upgrades are nothing new in gaming, whether it was the Sinclair Spectrum Plus 2 with its built-in tape drive, the 32X add-on for the Mega Drive, all the way up to the PS5 Pro. This was also the case with the release of the Amiga A1200 in 1992. With its AGA chipset, it offered a significant improvement in graphical capability over the standard Amiga. It was now possible to display 256 colours on screen at a time, came with 2 MB of memory as standard, and was based on a 32-bit processor. This was actually the same chipset that was used for the CD32 console as well. Many Amiga games became available with upgrades to the new system, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my opinion as to which ones I consider to be the best and explain why. So sit back and join me as I count down my best 10 AGA upgrades. Okay, so let's kick off this list with probably the most recent upgrade that's on here, and that's Rick Dangerous, which was always one of my go-to platform games on the Amiga, just because of how incredibly charming the original game was. This enhanced remake, which came out in 2023, developed by Z Team, is a absolutely gorgeous looking update of the original's graphics. Unfortunately, in the process of upgrading it, they decided to change the game's controls, and the game just plays nowhere near as well as the original did. I don't know why they did that, and I don't know why there is no option to return to the original controls. It's a shame because it's a fantastic looking remake. I just wish it played as well as the original. Sticking with upgrades that have come out recently, we have the 2022 remake of Turrican II, which, unlike the Rick Dangerous one, keeps everything about the gameplay 100% intact, but it looks absolutely beautiful, and nowhere is the extra use of colours more evident than in the gradiently shaded sky that is the background to the opening level. Thankfully, they also keep the excellent soundtrack in place because, let's face it, if you're not playing Turrican II accompanied by the music of Chris Hulsbeck, you're not really playing it at all. This remake is based on the PC version, which is why it looks and plays just as well as the game did back in the 90s, and it's also available to download with you naming your own price from the Itch.io website, and I would 100% recommend that you do that. Next, we have Nick Faldo's Championship Golf, which actually came from 2 different developers. The original A500 version was made by Arc Developments and is a perfectly decent golf game, but the graphics are a little bit on the messy side, whereas when the game came out on the CD32, it was developed by Images, and it made full use of the extra palette that was available. The courses now look incredibly lush and far more realistic than they ever did in the original game. The gameplay is still also excellent, and this remains one of the best golf games that you can play on the Amiga.
Straight on the green. Yes, 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 yes.
Next we have Shadow Fighter, which is one of the many one-on-one fighting games that came out in the wake of Street Fighter II. And although there are other games of this type that are enhanced on the A1200, none has such a varying leap in quality between the A500 version and the AGA version. The original version of this, the colours are incredibly poor, and in direct comparison to what you get on the A1200, it's instantly obvious which version of this game you should be playing. It's also one of the better fighting games on the Amiga 2 with some decent gameplay, and I would much rather play this than Body Blows. Next we come to the A1200 version of Jurassic Park, released in 1993 from Ocean Software. It's a perfectly decent movie tie-in, made as a overhead shooter as you wander around the park, trying to stay alive as it's becoming overrun with man-eating dinosaurs. The A1200 version also makes good use of the extra colours, making the scenery look even better than before, and all the dinosaurs now stand out a lot more against it. However, the reason why you should be playing this version over the A500 version is the inclusion of some absolutely fantastic first-person shooting levels. These levels have been seared into my memory by the fact that very few games have ever made me jump anywhere near as much as a raptor attack. By today's standards, it does look incredibly basic, but for me it's still worth playing because of the incredible use of music that builds the tension. Jetstrike was always one of those games where getting used to the controls and constantly failing and crashing your aircraft all the time is all part of the fun, just like Wings of Fury. Once again, the A500 version plays reasonably well, but when you compare it alongside the AGA version that came out on the A1200 and the CD32, it's clear that a lot more love went into the graphics by the developers. Not only is there a lot more detail in the background, they also saw fit to include a lot of digitised speech for your radio messages from the tower, and even being able to hear the voices from the enemy pilots that you're trying to take down. This was always one of those games that I would put on for a quick 5 minutes of enjoyment between other games, and it's lost none of its appeal all these years later. There's no question about it, the first entry in Sid Meier's Civilization series is easily one of the best strategy games on the Amiga, regardless of which version that you play. On the A1200 though, it just looks so much better than the original, with the extra colours being utilised brilliantly on all of the menu screens and on the actual gameplay screen as well. It also makes use of the extra memory, meaning that the game actually plays a little bit quicker than it did first time around. While I would personally prefer to play the Settlers over this one, if you do sit down to play Civilization, you need to be prepared to lose hours of your day. As a huge fan of the Alien Breed series, Alien Breed II was always one of the most disappointing games of my life. For some reason, the developers decided to open the game with one of the worst opening levels I have ever experienced in gaming. And sadly, that's one thing that the A1200 version doesn't fix. What it does do though, is have far more detailed backgrounds, and all of the aliens and items that you can collect are all now easily recognisable against them. If you are going to play this game, then my recommendation is to load up the Lemon Amiga website and find the level code for level 2. That way you don't have to experience the absolute travesty that the game starts with.
Layer 1 requires first aid.
Audiogenic's Exile was always one of those games that I really struggled to get into, and it actually took me many years to understand why people rated it so highly. This is one of those games that doesn't tell you anything whatsoever about what it is you're supposed to be doing, and instead it just lets the player fly around and discover everything for themselves. In the manual, it does have a brief breakdown of a way that you can start to play the game, which teaches you some of the controls, but even if you follow that, you're still going to be left to your own devices after only 10 minutes. The A1200 version simply looks stunning when viewed alongside the A500 original. A huge amount of effort has gone into improving every single element of the graphics, and the fact that you can now play it with a CD32 joypad means that it actually has much better controls as well. If the only version of Simon the Sorcerer that you've played is the original A500 version, the moment you load up the A1200 one instead, you will be absolutely blown away by the graphics. The original version could only manage 32 colours on screen at a time, and if you compare that to the 256 colours used on the AGA version, it just makes everything look so much richer than ever. That's not all though, and the reason why it's topping this list is the CD32 version, which is fully voiced, which really helps bring out the comedy of the script, especially the fact that the main character is voiced by none other than Chris Barry from Red Dwarf, and it really does enliven the game completely. So that's it. That's my list of the best 10 AGA upgrades for games on the Amiga. If there are any games that you think I've missed off this list, please do let me know in the comments, but also please bear in mind that this is in no way a definitive list and is merely my opinion. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you give us a like and subscribe, and while you're at it, why not consider becoming a VIP member, which will give you early access to many of our videos. All the details for that can be found in the video description. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, happy retro gaming. Bye for now.